streamed. Yeah, but I think it has to be genuine. What's up, freaks? On the live stream, we were just doing our alpha for the recorded version of
We were
this
just talking about how Marty's dad called in last week and how fucking fantastic that was.
podcast. It was fun. He got a kick out of it. Yeah, big head out of it. I tweeted out. He got mad at me too for doxing his text. He said I broke a cardinal rule, and he's very disappointed in his son because I sent the screenshot of him saying, "Hey, I was on RHR and Bitcoin goes over 50K for the first time in a while again."
Oh, I saw that. That was the top when you tweeted it out.
Yeah. Caught the top. Stay
You had to
humble.
jinx it.
Was it me or was it him jinxing it? I guess that's the question. He would know would want to know the answer to this.
It was definitely a Bent who jinxed it.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. It's a non-answer. I guess we'll start with a non-answer today. Big week, man. Big week. A lot to talk about. A lot of nuance in today's episodes. I can feel we haven't discussed that there'll be a lot of nuance, but just talking about the topics that are on the list. There's a lot to talk through, particularly around El Salvador. That's what we'll start with. But before we get there, we'll start with Clark's dashboard, Dash's Clark board. The price of Bitcoin is $46,540. $1 will currently buy you 2,149 sats. We are at block height 699,802. Marty Matt here, 198 blocks away from block 700,000. What's the significance of that? And it's just an even number. It'd be cool to get to the 700K.
Literally no significance whatsoever.
Yeah. I believe
the number just goes up. It just constantly goes up.
I tweeted this out a few weeks ago. It's the best Bitcoin dad joke out there. New all-time high in block height. There's very few instances in which you'd be wrong with that current block height we're talking about.
It'd be pretty bad if we were wrong.
Yeah, exactly. We had a difficulty adjustment since we last met, and it was a 4.5% upward difficulty adjustment. Currently, we are 1,766 blocks away from the next difficulty retarget. And right now, it's estimated to be a downward adjustment of 2.2%.
Would be our first downward adjustment in a couple months.
Yeah, maybe even a few months. Where are we at?
Do you feel the mempool FOMO? That's something I would love to jinx. Like, hopefully it's just one sat per byte forever.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. It's similar to last week, I believe, if I recall correctly.
I hope people got a bunch of transactions in just in case it's not.
There are currently 15,693 transactions in Clark's mempool. Samurai below 4,000 this week at 3,979.76 Bitcoin in unspent capacity. So I went down a little bit week on week here.
Maybe people were using one sat per bytes to move to cold storage or make payments. But the bigger news on the Whirlpool side is that the legend Craig Raw, who was on Dispatch this week,
Powercast, Craig Raw and Andrew Chow,
has added Whirlpool support to Sparrow Wallet, the desktop wallet that works with Electrum servers. And it's completely compatible with Samurai's liquidity pools. So this is been a long time coming, not necessarily for Sparrow. He's a fucking hustler. Right now it's just testnet, but this is something that we've discussed previously on the show many times. This idea that Whirlpool is designed in a way that wallets can easily add it to their stack, and they can share the same liquidity pool, and they can get a cut of the CoinJoin fees. So they have an incentive. You know, Sparrow is a KYC free wallet. It's an open source project. It has been purely monetized based off of donations. Everyone should go donate, sparrowwallet.com/donate, but he doesn't get that many donations. So now this adds a privacy focused way for him to get some kind of sustainable income from Sparrow Wallet. And it also helps gives people the ability to use a desktop wallet to do it as well. If you have an iPhone and you refuse to get an Android phone just for the purpose of using CoinJoin. But it also helps mitigate the concern of Samurai Light Wallet users being too much of the mix, which is a concern that a lot of people talk about, because inherently Sparrow wallet users are not using Samurai servers. So as the number of users that are using Sparrow, Whirlpool integration goes up, that concern becomes less of a concern. And same if people are using their own node, which ideally a lot of people are to begin with.
Well, and that sort of suppresses, like, if you're not running Dojo, you're really not doing. You should run Dojo, but again, creating more optionality and more liquidity from different coordinating services is a good thing.
Well, no, so the coordinator is the same, but the coordinator is blinded, doesn't see anything. What's different is the what's different is like how you connect.
Yeah, the avenue to the
node.
liquidity pool. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
but that's in testnet for now. It's being tested. Hopefully, it should be out in mainnet soon.
But a very good example of a way to leverage Bitcoin's unique native properties to create a business model, right? On this free and open source software stuff. It's niche, but it shouldn't be niche. We're trying to make it not niche here at TFTC, but it is very encouraging to see that developers can monetize their work by leveraging Bitcoin's.
I mean, it's not that niche, right? Like you said yourself, what is it? It's like a little under 4,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I mean, how much is that in cuck bucks? I just made you do math. It says it on.
It says it on dashboard. Let me look it up. 185.5 million.
Yeah. So I mean, it's niche, but it's not that niche.
Yeah. Again, trying to make it more popular here, and thanks to Craig and the team at Sparrow Wallet, now it's easier to access, and you have more optionality around Whirlpool specifically. How was the episode with Andrew and Craig? Obviously, went over.
It's good. I'm like trying to find a balance between being too technical and being approachable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we were talking about reproducible builds, which is like one of the most bland topics ever. But I thought it was a very good constructive conversation, and I think it could be helpful for people. And I think it's something we should be pushing for in the space, to not only have reproducible builds, but having more people build from source rather than using the prepackaged install files. But it's definitely a higher step up, right? Before you get there, you should at least be PGP verifying your installs. And I know for a fact that the majority of the freaks listening right now are not doing that. So you should just keep improving. And the good thing about this conversation, and what I try and do with Dispatch in general, is I do think it's more timeless. So I think people can go back to it, in 6 months, 8 months, when they get, when they have the urge to upgrade their setup to go to that conversation. But it was a really good conversation. And I mean, I love Andrew. We had him on TFTC. We were together for that one in person.
Studio. Yeah.
And Craig is just a beast. I just added Craig. I was like, Craig, you want to join us? And he's like, yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah. Both of those gentlemen are incredible gentlemen. And then if you want to learn more about reproducible builds in the work some members of Bitcoin Core have been doing on that, we have many episodes on that in the catalog. So go check that out. And yeah, I guess we can transition into the meat of what we wanted to start with, which is El Salvador. Obviously, big news. People have been anticipating all summer since the announcement at Bitcoin 2021. El Salvador wrote a law that makes Bitcoin legal tender and forces merchants to accept Bitcoin as payment as well. That went live on the 7th, Tuesday of this week, and a lot of mixed reviews. And I alluded to it in the beginning, there's a lot of nuance to the particulars of the El Salvador story, ranging from its significance as a geopolitical domino that has fallen to the technical rollout of the Bitcoin implementation that the government's pushing. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm just laughing because Wiz put in the comments, how do we PGP verify RHR releases? These are all deep fakes. Don't trust verify. This is not actually me and Marty. The El Salvador news is, I mean, it's a massive deal, right? It's a big deal. Obviously, it is a country adopting Bitcoin as one of two main currencies, right? US dollars and Bitcoin, is a massive recognition of Bitcoin as money, right? We've heard for years people say Bitcoin is not money. Bitcoin is literally being used as money by a whole country. I do think as Bitcoiners, though, you know, there's a tendency to sugarcoat everything as bullish as possible.
Mhm.
And it's not a perfect situation, you know, and I think we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to Salvadorans to be critical of implementation and critical of how the government handles this adoption of Bitcoin. And, you know, I was like, I had some critical thoughts on Twitter, and I had people coming at me like, oh, Matt, like you lost the plot. Like, this is so bullish. Like, be more bullish, be positive. We have to be positive. It's like, fuck you, man. Like, I'm the most bullish person ever. Like, I don't need to fucking sugarcoat everything with bullish platitudes before I make a critical comment.
It's funny how quickly people forget about 200K by conference day.
I don't need to. And like people pretend like, oh, like my bullet, like I tweet bullish platitudes because it's good for Bitcoin. I want to increase adoption. That's not the case. Like, Bitcoin is going to become the world's standard money regardless of your fucking bullish tweets. You're just tweeting out bullish things, not you specifically, but people are just tweeting out bullish things because they want the engagement. They get fantastic engagement. If you have a critical take on El Salvador, you get way worse engagement than if you have you know, Bitcoin is the best thing ever and everything is perfect in El Salvador tweet.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And this is something we've been discussing in the lead up to the law going live. I mean, obviously, I think we talked about it last week alone, the leaked document of the architecture of the new wallet infrastructure that they're building.
That turned out to be wrong, though.
Did it?
Yeah, because BitGo is the one. So it looks like BitGo is doing the on-chain stuff. And I believe a Mexican exchange, IBEX. I don't know. I think they're Mexican exchange. IBEX is doing the Lightning integration.
IBEX Mercado. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a custodial Lightning, which we knew. It's all, the whole thing's custodial.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like it's a combination between BitGo for on-chain, IBEX for Lightning, and then Athena for the ATMs.
Mm-hmm. Was OpenNode involved in some way?
OpenNode was doing like OpenNode behind the scene. Like, so all one of the cool things that Bitcoiners caught up on really quickly was that like all the large corporations that are operating in El Salvador needed to start accepting Bitcoin with like very little notice, right? So a lot of them tapped OpenNode to do it. Now, this is a perfect example of where we need to be critical. Like, it is cool that, especially, you know, to troll Roger Ver, that you can buy a coffee at McDonald's with Lightning or on chain, but like their integrations with OpenNode, like as far as McDonald's is concerned, they're accepting fiat, right? And OpenNode is ideologically better than BitPay. I mean, BitPay can go fuck themselves. BitPay attacked Bitcoin. They have a ton of shitcoin support. They're like, have been unethical many times in the past. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, like, is McDonald's really accepting Bitcoin? Like, they're getting fiat on the back end. They're not actually like, they could be running BTC Pay server. They're not running BTC Pay server. They're not providing liquidity to the network.
But alternatively, positive spin on it, they're accepting Bitcoin. So allowing an individual who has chosen to live off of Bitcoin can go to McDonald's and have a normal interaction. Aaron Van Weerdum from Bitcoin Magazine, I think his is the tweet that blew up. He went in the morning to McDonald's. I think he explained, like, I wasn't expecting them to have anything ready, and I was shocked that they had the Lightning voice.
The funny part was the day before in Bitcoin Magazine, like we were talking within Bitcoin Magazine, and Aaron was like, there is no way McDonald's is going to accept my Bitcoin tomorrow. Like, he was positive they weren't going to. So he was just going there to basically prove his point that there's no way they would be ready. And sure enough, they were ready. But it's just, like, it's cool. Like, I'm not saying it's not cool, right? But there's some nuance
there is nuance there. So is this part of the nuance? Didn't Aaron use his own non-custodial?
Right. I'm talking about the merchant side, right? Yeah. I'm talking about, like,
there's two sides to this, though.
There's glimmers of 2013, Marty, or 2014. Remember when everyone was like, oh, AT&T accepts Bitcoin, Microsoft accepts Bitcoin, but really behind the scenes,
Overstock was the big one.
right? BitPay was just going behind the scenes to these companies, right? They were like, we will do all of this for you for really cheap, and you'll just get US dollars in your bank account and you'll get a PR boost for it. And they weren't actually really, ideologically connected to Bitcoin or even holding any Bitcoin. So to me, there's like glimmers of that 2015, 2014 kind of merchant adoption push that was really kind of a bullshit merchant adoption push. On the positive side, another positive thing is in McDonald's, they were listing their prices in sats.
Right.
So that's just a real nail in the coffin for all the pro bits people.
and BTC, they had sats and BTC next to each other. Yeah. In full denomination. Yeah, it's well, like saying that you're comparing to like 2013, 2014, certainly are rhythms of that in all of this. However, do you think there's an aspect, particularly with the significance of El Salvador as a country, as a nation state, making this move, the amount of acceptance Bitcoin has garnered since 2013, since 2014? Is there a possibility, you think, in some of these boardrooms they're having conversations like, all right, maybe we shave off 10% of
so OpenNode actually has like a slide
bar. Yeah.
So they can choose how much they want to convert.
So it's very easy to do so if they want to.
Right. I presume they're just converting everything into US dollars right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I OpenNode charges a fee, right? So ultimately, if Bitcoin transactions hit a certain level, there's a direct incentive to switch to something more sovereign like BTC Pay Server because they save money.
Mm-hmm.
But in the short term, that trade-off isn't very apparent to them. They can implement it way quicker to use something like OpenNode.
Yeah. Once they hit that line in the curve where it's like the cost of an engineering team to build this from scratch versus the amount of fees we're paying, OpenNode is probably where that decision gets made.
And it also depends if they want to hold a Bitcoin. If they want to hold a Bitcoin, then obviously, then the major trade-off of not using something like OpenNode is it's harder to get the fiat, right? You have to actually manually go do transactions to convert. If you want to hold Bitcoin, you don't have that issue. Yeah. So these are all trade-offs that, and look, if it's a smaller merchant, hopefully they're choosing to use a more sovereign option. My guess is most of the smaller merchants are just going to use the government wallet because it has low fees and is easy to set up, and they just want the US dollars. They don't want Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. But that's like a learning curve kind of thing. I mean, if you start to think about a whole country, I mean, it's 6 million people, but so smaller than New York City, even after all the COVID bullshit that led to a mass exodus. If you have a whole country adopting Bitcoin all at once, like the education hurdles are insane, right? Like the Bitcoin is hard enough for the freaks to grapple, like using Bitcoin, especially if you're talking about like privacy best practices. So a lot of people will get burned and will have to learn, the hard way, unfortunately. But that just kind of comes with the territory. There's going to be hurdles, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think we've seen this even in the rollout and the implementation. Something Matt Alborg, I believe, paid for an invoice over Lightning, and his name, he pointed out that people's names were being recorded, and then they made a fix and thanked him and some invoice payment or something.
That's ridiculous. The craziest fucking timeline. So
right.
So when you do a Lightning invoice, we've talked about this on the podcast before. People don't realize you post a Lightning invoice on Twitter, it's going to show your node's public key. And from your node's public key, you can find out a bunch of information. You can find out the IP address of the node or the Tor address of the node if it's only running through Tor, which it should be. You can find out the public channel capacity. You can find out the invoice amount, and you can find out the memo of the invoice. Like, Marty's paying me for beer. You put that in the invoice. If someone sees that invoice, they can see Marty's paying it for beer. They can see my node. They can see my Tor address. They can see my public channel capacity. Their auto memo when someone was receiving on Chivo was their full legal name. And it said full legal name by Chivo wallet. Which, to be honest, I was a bit of a hater when Matt pointed it out, because I thought that they considered that a feature, not a bug, and they wouldn't change that. And they changed it within like a day of Matt tweeting out about it. But then they changed the description for every single memo of people's invoices to thanks Matt Alborg. So like you would just pay someone, if you paid someone from your Lightning wallet, the payment memo would say thanks Matt Alborg on it. And my immediate thought was, you always say, who is Klaus Schwab? There's like a bunch of El Salvadorians, like, who is Matt Alborg?
Matt Alborg just pulling strings in El Salvador. For anybody listening, Matt Alborg's an incredible individual,
awesome.
Incredible data analyst in the space, particularly focusing on emerging economies and how they're adopting Bitcoin. His research on the peer-to-peer exchange culture and volume in places like Nigeria, Venezuela, India is incredible. Useful tool ups.org.
Refill now.
Yes, he just joined BitRefill full time.
And then the other hurdle talking about BitRefill was, so first of all, I think all the memos still say Matt Alborg on them. I'm not sure if they changed that. Hopefully they change that sometime soon, because that's just confusing. And then the other hurdle was the $30 in Bitcoin that they give you in your wallet. You had to send within the Chivo network for like at least people were saying like 3 to 5 payments between people before you could actually send that $30 worth of Bitcoin to the wider network. And I think BitRefill said at one point that they had 8,000 failed transactions of people from El Salvador trying to buy BitRefill, like prepaid mobile top-ups and stuff, with the Chivo helicopter money.
Yeah, I saw Sergey tweet something out about that, but they didn't respond saying, "Oh, I was mistaken" or something like that.
Did he say that?
I think so. I mean,
but anyway, for sure, the $30 couldn't be spent right away. There was multiple reports on that aspect of it. I don't know if BitRefill actually had 8,000. That was pretty impressive. I was impressed that many people tried to use BitRefill. But I assume a lot of people just tried to immediately send it off wallet, and those people were being denied from doing it.
Yeah. Okay, so here is the Sergey.
I thought you were talking to your lady, so I just kept on talking.
No, I was talking to you.
Okay.
Oh, no, I have
you have a screen to your left.
Record here. Find all the information here. It appears that $30 offered by the Chivo wallet aren't real Bitcoins, can't be sent out. All right, so this was the correction he made. They aren't real Bitcoins. 8,000 invoices created the past couple hours on BitRefill.
That's crazy.
It couldn't be paid. Seems a correction is in place as the response to that tweet. And he quote tweeted 42 papooses on Twitter. Okay. I'm sorry. Bukele, I officially pull my $30 out. Appears you need to make a few transactions first. So
I liked how Bukele, the president of El Salvador, was like tweeting out tech support.
Well, that, and I think more importantly, to keep this, I think we
got to keep it bullish for engagement.
Well, that not even that. Like I think we're under the agreement that we're going to spend a lot of time on this particular topic in this episode. And
yeah, it's not every day that the first country ever is going to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. Sorry.
So the other, obviously, there's this whole technical side, and then there's the geopolitical, cultural moment in history side of it, which was obviously the law becomes law. That's incredible. Bitcoin is just cemented in a nation state as a legal currency to use. And then you have, at the same time, not only is Bukele giving out tech support, he's trolling the IMF. There was a flash crash on the day. Did
El Salvador dump on us, or did we dump on them?
Well, I mean, there was that like market buy $30 worth of Bitcoin campaign that was going on.
Right? Like everyone rose the price of Bitcoin leading up, and then they all get their Bitcoin, and then it dumped $10,000. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, there were some deep crypto Twitter conspiracy theories about traders in Korea or China market manipulating.
I like the take that the plebs all pumped the price, and then as soon as the Salvadorans got their Bitcoin, they just dumped on us.
Well, apparently not. Apparently, Bukele was buying the dip. It was like he was accusing the IMF of the manipulation too, of the price. Like, I'm buying the dip. We don't want.
It was like a sell the news thing, right? It was just traders being traders.
We're not here for the price talk. Like whatever happened with the price that day was just funny that it happened.
200K by conference day.
You have a nation state openly trolling the International Monetary Fund, an institution historically that has acted essentially like a shark PE firm with emerging economies, filling them up with debt and getting them into deals that aren't very favorable for the local people. And to see the country like El Salvador and its president come out and on Twitter troll the IMF, like what does that do to other countries that may not view the IMF very favorably? Do they become emboldened to take a similar stance? And
Very few like the IMF, right? Already.
Yeah, yeah.
They're a bully.
They have a
They're
lot
an
of control.
international bully.
Yeah, they have a lot of control.
And like no one has the power to stand up to them except for like a few countries that have undue control over them to begin with. So
yeah.
So yeah, Bitcoin does give them some independence. This is the first country to ever explicitly say that they're buying Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin
And buying the debt.
Right.
In favor
Implicitly
of the IMF's debt or $1 billion that they offered them or whatever it was.
But so I mean, I know you saw my tweet.
Yeah,
where I compared it to a CBDCB strategy.
Yes.
And there is a lot of similarities to what a CBDCB rollout would be.
Completely agree.
And I think it's important to realize here, Bukele didn't have his own currency to begin with. So like his hands were tied if he wanted to truly roll out a CBDCB. But instead, because he didn't have his own currency that he was already printing, he's using the US dollar. Bitcoin was like a neutral option. But at the end of the day, he is basically he's telling a lot of merchants that were mostly doing cash deals. They were mostly doing cash transactions, paper cash transactions that are highly private. And now they're forced to accept digital payments. And most of them, if they want US dollars, are going to be using the government wallet, which he has full insight into, and he can seize and freeze it at will. So I think it's important to realize here that while it's clearly better than a CBDCB rollout because Bitcoin is involved and it's, at least for right now, has complete compatibility with the open monetary network that is Bitcoin and Lightning. There is some pause and there should be some concern over the idea of digitizing an economy without privacy safeguards in place.
Completely agree. And that is why it's imperative that people like the team at Samurai, at Spectre, others working on privacy technology, Join Market, Wasabi. Sorry if I started some beef there, but
I mean, you didn't really start beef. If they want to use Wasabi, they need to have $5,000. I think that kind of just knocks out the majority of the Salvadoran population, regardless of implementation details.
Lightning, but there are these shimmers of hope and light. Obviously, again, Aaron being able to use a non-custodial wallet to pay for something. Hopefully, merchants are able to use similar software, and even if they're not, hopefully socially they have their government mandated Lightning wallet and their self-sovereign one, their BTC Pay server. They run a few transactions or something like that. But again, that's separate, right? They're the first through the door. This is their implementation. The world is watching. They're obviously seeing the attention that's being drawn towards El Salvador. Again, does this embolden other nation states, particularly those that aren't part of the Western elite, the G7, the G8? Do they begin to make similar laws?
Yes.
Potentially similar implementations, potentially different implementations, more privacy respecting implementations. Like, again, like, is this a domino that leads to a crazy rush to Bitcoin from these upstart countries?
I mean, I think if you're going to talk about a country compelling people to accept Bitcoin through a legal tender law, like you can't really, at least, especially when they got rid of the whole invoice thing where it was just giving out their name. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, how much do we expect from governments, right? Like, it's a pretty good implementation for the amount of time they had. I think it's like a decent role model, or like case study basically for other countries that want to implement something.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it's like Bitcoiners, when it used to be that one of my favorite parts about Bitcoin Twitter and Bitcoin Reddit and Bitcoin IRC and Bitcoin Talk was that the best critics of Bitcoin were the Bitcoiners themselves.
Yep.
The no coiners and the Bitcoin deniers always would have all their bullshit, whatever, Bitcoin's boiling the oceans, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's all these other things. But the Bitcoiners were always very critical, right? And there's like kind of this insidious thing that's happening on Bitcoin Twitter over the last year or so, where it's gotten a bit intellectually lazy. Like I feel like people are scared to be critical and they need to be always bullish and just hand wave everything away. And if a government was giving people $30 with strings attached to how they can spend it, that wasn't Bitcoin, Bitcoiners would be up in arms. But because it was $30 in Bitcoin,
Good
it's
point.
like, okay, so like when's the next airdrop? And if there's a next airdrop and it has an expiration, you have to spend it at, Chivo merchants and you have to do it within 3 weeks or whatever. Are we going to be mad then? Or are we just going to hand wave that away too?
Yeah. Very good point. And I'm very happy that we're here discussing this right now, because it is important to keep these moves in check. And like, so that again, like Chivo Wallet, they responded very quickly to that invoicing thing. Now they're making Matt Alborg the supreme leader of El Salvador via the Lightning, as
Who is Matt Alborg?
as described by the Lightning Network. Do you think there's enough social pressure from an incentive, social pressure from Bitcoiners who know how to do it correctly, and incentive where if you do it correctly, it's going to be much better off because people are going to want to do more commerce within your borders? Like, do you think there's a chance with El Salvador specifically that Bukele tries to surprise people by listening to privacy critiques? I'm encouraging potentially,
I don't know, maybe,
and individuals to use non-custodial wallets.
As far as I'm concerned, I've never expected a government to work in our best interests.
Very good assumption.
Where privacy is involved. So if he does, that's a net benefit, and if he doesn't, then it's status quo. It's to be expected. I think in general, most of Bitcoin adoption has been in Western countries with people who don't need to spend their Bitcoin, that are also receiving large salaries or decent, livable salary in whatever fiat that they're from. And they spend that fiat and they hold their Bitcoin, right? They take their Bitcoin, they probably buy on a KYC exchange, they send it to cold storage. And then 3 years later, the price is up 10x and they forget how to spend it from cold storage. That is like the main adoption angle that has been happening for the last few years. Now we have a full country that is living paycheck to paycheck. They don't really have much savings. They're high velocity payments. They're receiving money, they're sending money very quickly, right? They're not like holding it because they don't have a choice. That's the life that they have. And those people are going to be up against spending UX issues and spending gotchas in terms of privacy, right? Especially if you look at it from a privacy perspective. So hopefully this it's unfortunate, but this is just how it happens, right? It always happens that people basically, especially in the open source world, especially in open markets, free markets, they're going to go up against these pain points, right? That exist. And we don't really realize they're there because people aren't spending that much Bitcoin. And as they hit those pain points, maybe the government isn't going to help, right? But these open source projects, these private companies that are operating in the space are going to discover these pain points and they're going to start making solutions for them, and it'll get better from that point of view.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's exactly how it plays out, right? You have to explore the edges you're wandering into an abyss, essentially, with your hands out, trying to figure out where the borders are. More usage in this fashion will help find those borders and highlight pain points, as Matt said. And then hopefully people build stuff that gets over those pain points. Yeah. It's like, but that's the other thing. Like, a lot of people are very bullish. A lot of people, rightly so, very skeptical and critical. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. Like, this stuff's going to happen. Like anybody can decide to leverage the network at any given point in time, and it's open source. They can try to interact with that open source code. in many different ways. And you're just seeing the product of the nature of the essence of the Bitcoin network play out. It's fascinating. Again, there's the technical side of it, and there's the cultural, geopolitical side of it. It's going to be very interesting to see, and I guess we can segue that. Go ahead.
Before we segue, I mean, I kind of touched on it when I said that, you know, there's like a lot. It's like a pretty decent implementation how they did it at the end of the day. Rad Vladdy in the comments mentioned this, and I think I should be more explicit about it. I mean, the fact that the bill as written, their Bitcoin bill as written states that users and merchants can use whatever Bitcoin wallet they want to use is obviously that's a massive win. Like, we will see countries that do it that are closer to a CBDCB, right? That force you to use a government wallet. Like, I expect that to be, you know, part of the process of adoption.
That's what Christine Lagarde wants. That's what she's trying to push through the ECB right now.
So they should be strictly applauded for that. That at least, we don't know, there could be, you know, soft restrictions that happen in the future. They make it more difficult for people trying to operate in a sovereign way. They can keep providing incentives for you to use the government wallet, like free money that you can only spend in the government wallet, right? People like free money. Most people like more convenience. They can keep it more convenient. They can keep it cheap, and they can kind of keep the majority of people in their ecosystem, in their wallet. But at least that's more soft power rather than explicitly saying you have to use a government wallet.
Yes. Yeah. We shall see. We shall see. We've got a conspiracy theory in the live comments on YouTube. I'm not going to mention it. Too controversial.
When is anything too controversial for Marty Bent?
No, considering the appeal we just went through, I don't feel like talking about vaccines anymore.
Yeah, I see the message.
You can go through the live.
Marty's last interview with George Gammon was fire, and everyone should go listen to it. But he got the video got pulled from YouTube, and then he appealed it, and he won the appeal, so it got put back up.
Yes, I'm trying to be a good YouTube citizen. Susan, I'm trying my best here.
Dude, you haven't been uploading to Bitcoin TV.
I know.
Bitcoin TV fixes this.
Yeah, don't you added the
YouTube URL? All you have to do is just paste the URL, click the publish button, paste the YouTube URL, and it even pulls the description and title. You don't have to do anything.
Well, it's much easier. It's much easier than the manual process it was only a month ago. They're working hard and iterating fast at bitcointv.com. One more thing to add on the El Salvador story. Interesting to note. Bitcoin, obviously, superior product in terms of moving money around the world. I forget which analyst team crunched the numbers, but if El Salvador remittance market moves, or actually, I think they think the impact of Bitcoin becoming legal tender will reduce Western Union's revenues in El Salvador by $400 million, which I imagine is significant for.
So this is like classic CNBC, right? Is that Bukele came out, he was like, we are going to save our citizens $400 million in remittance costs. And then CNBC releases an article. El Salvador Bitcoin adoption is going to cost Western Union $400 million.
Okay. Uncle Marty spread CNBC. False fake news.
I mean, it's real news. It is going to cost them. It's $400 million worth of.
Yeah, but is it going to cost Western Union specifically $400 million? Maybe not.
Yeah, probably. It's like Western Union and MoneyGram. I think are they the same company now?
I don't know, but they're becoming obsoleted by Bitcoin. So,
I mean, it makes sense kind of from the CNBC angle, right? Because if you own Western Union stock, you should probably sell it for Bitcoin.
Yeah. Sorry for bringing the CNBC story. I thought it was a more reputable analyst. I just saw it go by in the fly.
No, it's true. I mean, it's true. It is going to cost them, almost $500 million. And that number was going up. That was remittances have only been going up to El Salvador.
Yeah. Well, you imagine as the dollar's losing value, you got to send more abroad to achieve the same purchasing power, right? That's another thing to think about. In those numbers, right? Maybe they're going up because inflation is rising, and you have to pay more to get the same thing. Which maybe this isn't next on the list, but a topic I wanted to talk about, we could segue to. while we're talking about inflation, is yesterday a head of the Economic Council for the Biden administration came out and just tried to gaslight everybody on inflation, saying like, hey, if you take out beef, pork, and poultry, there is no inflation. Your grocery bill's essentially the same. It's in line with historical inflation.
And like
then,
gas, housing, education.
well,
all
that's
the things you spend money on.
there's many layers to this particular talking point from the Biden administration. Was the way he framed it was there's a meme going around about grocery prices. So he immediately just created boundaries of the inflation discussion to groceries only because of this grocery prices rising meme that he needs to address. And again, talks about beef, pork, and poultry being the main driver of the inflation in that basket of goods in the grocery basket. And it's number one, it's like, all right, you're assuming most Americans don't eat beef, pork, and poultry. Like it's an important part of their diet. Just eat vegetable. Go vegan, and you'll be able to get by on the same.
The prices of bugs isn't going up,
right? It's only going down. But that's like again, the framing in multiple ways. Like just keeping it to grocery, saying, oh, if you just discard like the highest protein foods that many of you eat on a daily basis, like there's not really any inflation. Then again, like you mentioned, doesn't even touch on like gasoline prices, natural gas prices,
education,
housing, healthcare. It's
our main costs. Those are our main costs.
But that's like crazy propaganda rhetoric. Like, hey, here's the framing of the conversation, and here's, if you just discard this, inflation's not that bad. It's
the beauty of inflation. The beauty of inflation for an organization such as the U.S. government is they're able to tax everybody through a hidden inflation tax. And then if you successfully escape the inflation tax by buying hard assets, such as Bitcoin, then they charge you capital gains that are inflated through the inflation. So it's going to get really messy before it gets better.
Yeah. I mean, I saw people tweeting out earlier this week, they're going to be coming for your IRAs. Who knows what will happen with this debt ceiling we go through, if for any of you.
The debt ceiling always gets raised.
Yeah, exactly. But now they're posturing. Janet Yellen's talking about a government default. Like those headlines we're at that part of the
I still like the idea of just printing the platinum coins and just paying off all our debt.
You're making Joe Weisenthal smile right now. He's a big fan of the $1 trillion coin. You can just do it. Let's just do it. Why not?
It's really because we're the global reserve currency still. Like it becomes a tax on everyone else.
Yeah.
I like the chaos play. Like it's just like you can, so just fucking do it.
Right.
What
is the difference between $1 trillion coin and printing $3 trillion and hitting enter? Like just plugging 3 trillion.
I know, but it'd be cool if they had the coins.
Yeah, it's something to look at.
Like you'd have Biden he puts them on the desk. He's like, we've paid our debt.
Let's just repurpose a rystone. Let's just go all the way back to the island of Yap. Just bring out a rystone. This is our $2 trillion coin. Believe it. We decreed it. It is so. It is that way. It's the way the monetary system works these days, freaks. But again, going back to the point of why I brought up the inflation topic, it's just like I wrote it in the newsletter yesterday. It'd be funny, it'd be laughable. I'm laughing now, but it is a bit unnerving. Like it's just like overt gaslighting. I
think Nick Carter said they were going to call people who claim there's inflation conspiracy theorists and terrorists.
Yeah, I mean, and then right after that, you have the announcement. That's the other thing I mentioned in the newsletter yesterday is Jen Psaki, Biden's press secretary, that's her title, came out and gave an announcement that I don't even know if it happened yet. I've seen tweets of leaks of what's going to be in it, but Biden's going to lay out his 6-step plan to get back our freedoms, or to beat the Delta variant, whatever it is. We're
still only at Delta?
There's another one creeping up, I believe. Maybe Lambda. I've been hearing Lambda. I don't know if that's like a troll or an actual line that the experts are running with these days. But yeah, it's the other thing. It's like the overt, like a 6-step plan. just like, here, plebs, we're gonna go through these 6 steps. We're gonna get through all this. There's a very overt propaganda day yesterday, and maybe
there's like politicians saying New World Order now.
Yeah, in Australia.
Like, are they just trying to trigger us? Like, I also didn't understand. Like, first, I didn't understand why they called the vaccines jabs. That just seems like an overt negative term.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, they just kept saying "Build Back Better" to just try and trigger Marty as much as possible. And now they're just explicitly saying New World Order.
But if you go to Twitter, there's conspiracies. Did you see the Twitter description of like the trending?
Would they change the definition of?
Well, here I'll read
New
it.
World Order. They like released a definition of New World Order, right? It's like a world where
yes,
we have different rules or something.
The hottest woman in Bitcoin Twitter, Stopping Decrypt. He tweeted out a screenshot. I
haven't seen her in a while.
Right. Unfounded claims about the New World Order conspiracy theory are shared after an Australian government official used the expression during a press conference on Thursday. New South Wales Chief Health Officer Dr. Kerry Chant used the phrase during a press conference on Thursday. The fact checkers, have regularly debunked claims connected to this conspiracy theory. The phrase is commonly used to describe times of change and cultural shift. Duh, plebs. There's a definition to this. We're going through a cultural shift.
Like, why couldn't they be better at their messaging? You know, like, why are you saying that? Like, I don't even know. It's just weird. They said the quiet part.
Don't let Twitter get away with this. This is like an overt, again, gaslighting.
No,
like,
I know. I'm aware.
It's a term to define cultural shift. It's never like
I double checked to make sure it wasn't like a deep fake. We haven't even really hit the tip of the surface of deep fakes. Like, it's going to get way worse in terms of deep fakes. But like, I double checked to make sure because it just seems so ridiculous that they would use that exact terminology.
Well,
that's the Australian health minister used it, but someone else used it too. Did an American politician use the term?
I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Trudeau did, or somebody up in Canada, or an American politician for that. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them. That's the thing. That's like the New World Order. Obviously, that's been NWO. Like, if you've been around internet culture, it's always been something in what many people would deem as conspiracy theories. Others,
hacker known as 4chan.
I would say the probability that there are people who want to make a New World Order is greater than 0. That's how I would describe it. And but that's the only one. Like, many of them in coordination have been saying "Build Back Better, Build Back Better." Nancy Pelosi is announcing plans for the Build Back Better Act here in the
Biden tweeted out about Build Back Better today.
Yeah, and there's
about taxing the rich people. To build back
Trudeau's saying it. Boris Johnson in England saying it. Christine Lagarde said it. Like, it's being repeated. It's like this weird. And you'd think they'd be more. That's like, are they just rubbing it in our faces? Like, you think they'd be more cognizant of the fact that people don't jive well with these.
I don't think there's that much organization. I think it's.
The Build Back Better stuff.
I don't think our best people are up there. You know,
they're not our best people. Maybe they're somebody else's best people.
I don't really think so.
A clown show. They're very.
On a positive note, it was really great to see the filled stadiums of drunk college kids for college football. How great was that?
So good. The Virginia Tech Enter the Sandman.
My American bias is showing, but it just felt
really good.
Yeah. It was like a resistance thing, you know. It wasn't just college football.
Yeah, my wife went to Penn. I went to DePaul University, no football team, so I had to my home state as well. My wife went to Penn State, so I watched the Penn State game on Saturday. Boring first half. Penn State pulled it out. Fell asleep during the Clemson was that Clemson Notre Dame? I can't even remember. But was it Notre Dame Georgia? I forget. Clemson Georgia, whatever the game was. It just felt great to have college football back. You can tell. I love sports.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Beware of the propaganda freaks. Is the distraction back? Maybe that's it was great to see. But it's like, all right.
No.
Here come vaccination passports, but we'll give you college football so you can get
but those schools didn't have vaccine passports.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. Some do. I know some do.
But not the ones that were filling up 70,000 person stadiums.
No. Virginia Tech, I doubt it. other schools. Well, I don't know every
I
school.
mean, bread and circuses, right? Like the freaks
Yeah.
remind me whenever I talk about sports, bread and circuses. But there is a large contingent of Americans who saw those crowded stadiums of kids having a good time without masks on, and thought it was the scariest fucking thing ever. And I looked at it and I was like, it's really
Thank
good to
God.
see.
It's like adorable.
It wasn't even like I wasn't even watching the football. It was great to see. It's great to see them having a good time dancing
Being college kids,
yeah.
degenerates at a football game. Yeah. There was that other half of the internet too that was shaming. We're in the middle of a pandemic. This is disgraceful. We're never going to beat Delta. The virus is going to be around for a while. That's what I'm going to say. Back to Bitcoin stuff. Exchanges adding Lightning.
That was a long tangent.
It was necessary though. They're gaslighting. Like overt propaganda around this stuff. It's like it makes you think like if they're willing to do it this overtly, are they being crass and bold, or are they worried?
This is what I don't get about people who are like, who think like I'm fudding when I talk about critically about Bitcoin privacy. It's like we just watch the world's governments crush small businesses, tell people they can't leave their homes, force medical injections on them, and most people just stood by and let it happen. You think anyone is going to stand up for Bitcoiners when they come for us? Like only Bitcoiners will be standing at that point. And I would like us to be prepared. Like I think we'll be successful regardless, but it'll be more painful if we're not prepared.
I love that mentality. You're only as strong as your weakest link. You can have the best narrative, the best tech, the best tech stack, the best engineering approach. But if you don't fine tune for that weak link and try to make it as strong as possible, none of that matters if your weak link can be exploited. And governments are successfully able to force individuals to use privacy, eroding tech as they interact with Bitcoin without the opportunity to use alternatives, then this mission has failed.
I have someone asking, what does be prepared mean in this context? It means use your own node. It means hold your own keys. It means constantly educate yourself on privacy best practices when using Bitcoin. It means being humble enough to realize that we've only scratched the surface in our own understanding of Bitcoin and we can learn a lot more. And it means that as a community, we should be constantly striving to improve our tools, our education, and the network as a whole.
Co-signed. Couldn't have said it better myself. Speaking of exchanges and ways to preserve privacy, Bull Bitcoin is an exchange that takes that very close to their heart, and they try to implement that to their tech stack. They've recently announced, not that this has anything directly to do with privacy, maybe it can in the future, but they've implemented Lightning into their stack. Bull Bitcoin users up in Canada can now send Bitcoin and receive, I believe.
The cooler part is the receive side. Sending is testing. Testing. Is that you, Marty? Was that your issue? Mute yourself. I am the host now. Mute yourself, bro. It's just me, guys. I think we're still live. Marty's setup obviously got fucked up. Record. Marty's setup got fucked up, and I don't know if he realized it or if only I realized it. But I hope you enjoyed my dance when I realized. But the cool part about the Bull Bitcoin integration is that it's not necessarily the sense. Oh, he's back.
Back, can you hear me?
Yeah, and I'm recording now.
Boss.
Could
Thank
you
God.
hear the echo on your side?
No, that's the thing. I think
My dance. I think my dance was very fitting with my echo.
is that what the echo is like? God damn, it's the third time that's happened this week.
Really?
I need a new computer or an external hard drive. It seems that my storage just failed. It's time. This laptop's very old.
God, dude, get more storage. Uh, my favorite part was it just when you dropped out, it just said I was the host, and I just turned to them. I was like, I'm the host now.
Well, I don't know if you caught my smirk on the way out before I hopped out and then back in. I just had visions of you extending the live stream for hours on end after we finished the official rip.
Well, it's not, I mean, I'm glad that didn't cut the stream. But anyway, we were talking about bull Bitcoin, and the cool part isn't necessarily selling on bull Bitcoin. Bull Bitcoin is a non-custodial exchange. So when you buy, usually as soon as you send them fiat, they're supposed to send you Bitcoin. And on chain, that's super easy. But with Lightning, you have a bunch of UX issues in terms of liquidity and how you're going to actually send that transaction. Usually a person gives an invoice. So what they did was they implemented LNURL withdraw. And what's cool about it is they didn't want to end up in a situation where you tried to withdraw on Lightning and they ended up being unwitting custodians, right? Because a major aspect of the way they deal with regulators in Canada is never being the custodian. So it's LNURL withdraw, where it hits an HTTP server and then HTTPS server, and then gives them an invoice basically through a withdrawal process that is instituted by the withdrawer side. But it has a fallback on-chain address.
Ah,
If your Lightning payments fail, it'll send it through on-chain.
and
And they open sourced it, their implementation.
that on chain, I'm thinking, so that on chain UTXO would be the users, or Bull Bitcoin would custody that and then figure out a way to send them. So that's another way. Like, would they get a on-chain address?
No, I think they get the on-chain address from you as
with
a
their L and
fallback
URL node
before you place the order, just like they would in their normal flow. They just ask you for an on-chain address before you send them the fiat, right?
Okay.
So they get that address already, and then if the Lightning transaction fails, they fall back to on-chain.
Oh yeah. Again, another unique way of implementing Lightning Network functionality into an exchange's stack. As Matt mentioned, Bull Bitcoin is unique, or in a unique niche of exchanges where they don't do custody. Swan Bitcoin's another. And you just have Bitcoin sent to addresses that you give them. So it's like a very interesting particular business model to implement Lightning for. It's like the non-custody side on the...
I don't think anyone had really done that yet.
No. And
the deposit side is, people have done that already. That is simple, right? You pay them Lightning and they give you fiat. And if the Lightning payment fails, they don't give you anything, right? That hurdle, that UX hurdle isn't there.
Yeah, and that's I mean, Francis has been working on this for years. I think he may have first announced it at Hodl Hodl when we were both there a few years ago. This Cipher node, this project. So it's like this whole stack library.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah. Or maybe it was the one I was at and you weren't at. But I remember seeing his presentation on the Cipher node, essentially the library that he's making to interact with Bitcoin.
Right, but then we talked about it with him at Bitcoin 2019.
Yeah. So it's cool to see that progressing, just naturally adding to that stack as they need to provide utility and use cases to their users. So shout out to Francis and team. Where in the world is Francis right now? Who knows? He got
he failed at orange pilling Chris Sky like he said he was going to do.
Ha! Chris, if you're listening, I extended an invite to the podcast. I know.
I thought no shit corners are allowed on the show.
There are trade-offs I'm willing to make in that term. I don't want to consider him a shitcoiner. I would consider him somebody who's doing something very unique on the freedom fighter front up in Canada. I think he's doing something like
For
work.
the people that don't know, he's the gym bro from Canada.
That called everything out.
Yeah.
I've been following his story for the last 8 months or so. It's interesting. Like he's been harassed by the Canadian state many times, and he knows his right. That's like he's a very good example of maybe why it may be important to understand your rights and know your rights. Because if you know your rights and are able to assert them to authorities, they do have to listen. He's done that many times throughout this year.
He's going to be sending out paid shitcoin tweets within a couple months.
We'll see. Hey, Chris, if you're listening, yeah. So you tweeted out today that he's got a crypto portfolio, Bitcoins. The old.
He said I have multiple crypto.
Multiple.
Which is not even grammatically correct, Chris. Like, what the fuck is a multiple crypto?
What the fuck is multiple Bitcoin?
Multiple Bitcoin makes more sense.
Bitcoins. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
You already fucking got cake in your face over that. You can't pull it back.
I retracted. Team Bitcoins. It's official in El Salvador. McDonald's is going with Bitcoins. There's nothing you can do about it.
No, they had Bitcoin.
No, they had plural Bitcoins. It's a win for Bitcoins there.
I don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
We need to get a tally going, freaks. If
it doesn't make any sense. What is it 1.23 Bitcoins or Bitcoin?
Is it 1.23 crypto? Like, or cryptos?
Crypto isn't a thing. Crypto doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. Bitcoin is a thing.
What if there was a coin called cryptocurrency?
Already like
that's actually
around in the field with the deers and
it's actually believable. A shit coin called cryptocurrency. There's just like a huge marketing lark.
How is there not one yet?
Right? Yeah, I wish I could take a time machine back to 2013.
Marty's about to release a shit coin called cryptocurrency.
Chris Guy, if you're out there, I'll have a conversation with you. Maybe try to. I don't even want to say talk some sense. I'm not trying to lecture.
Don't die on the hill.
I'm not gonna. You don't die on the hill either. I'll throw the same advice at you.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. On to depressing. Some of our favorite topics here. IRS, the undercover did an undercover operation on local cryptos P2P exchange, and busted some people who weren't reporting. I believe they.
Or was this a single person?
Yeah, it was a dark web drug dealer. Like the IRS is going after a drug. They're like, shouldn't the ATF?
Did they say it was a drug dealer? And it would be the DEA, Marty.
DEA. There we go. Agency. I'm sorry, I'm getting my.
The ATF is for guns, tobacco.
There's so many of them. You forget. You know, you're free. You're free. You have to remember all these agencies that can come take your shit. The biggest success may have been the takedown of an alleged dark web drug dealer, tricking him into sending more than $180,000 in cash to the IRS in exchange for cryptocurrencies, according to the warrant. It was hilarious. Why I opened the article and I'm reading a Forbes article is I wanted to pull the name up, the NIM that the IRS was running with, and it's just like hilarious and how overt it is. Mr. Coins was the dealer.
It's still up. One of the reasons I put it in the thing is because Forbes can go fuck themselves, but that account is still on local crypto. So local cryptos is like local Bitcoins, P2P exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And that this has always been a risk if you use these P2P exchanges, that you could have an undercover agent on the other side. But Forbes did a freedom of information request and they got the fucking guy's username, and it has 100% feedback on the website.
Yeah,
great buyer.
He's a great facilitator of Bitcoin trade.
So just be aware, freaks.
Yeah.
Also, Marty, like for the next couple of years, you can be like pro Bitcoins if you want, but like no one's going to be trading, people, no one's going to be interacting with more than a Bitcoin anyway. It makes absolutely no sense. It's going to be the most foreign concept ever.
This is obviously creating a lot of internal conflict for you. I think there's going to be.
It's not internal conflict. I just want some logical consistency.
I mean, that's not, in no way.
Why are you so bearish?
In no way is that bearish or logically inconsistent. And just because it's a larger number doesn't mean the plural of Bitcoins isn't Bitcoins. Of Bitcoin isn't Bitcoins.
There's fucking decimals.
I think by going down this route, you're opening up
Whatever.
an opportunity
I'm just
for the
gonna keep
bits.
using
You're opening up
Bitcoin.
opportunity for the bits people to come in here.
The bits people they've all died on the hill. The bits people have all died on the hill.
So the IRS, they're snooping. It was interesting, like
Everyone's gonna be using
IRS.
sats.
How dumb of a drug dealer you have to be? Like send the IRS.
They
No.
sent Mr. Coins.
Mr.
They didn't
Coins,
send
yeah.
the IRS the money.
Shame on Forbes for the wording of the article. You're making it sound like the IRS created an address, and he knew he was sending it there. What do we got next? You're gonna be pumped about this one. Mastercard acquires CipherTrace.
I hope it's the worst investment they've ever made. It'll be even worse investment than the NFT they bought. Or was that Visa? I don't even know who it was.
Is this different than? So it's Eclipse. CipherTrace it's Eclipse chain analysis.
Elliptic, CipherTrace, chain analysis.
Elliptic.
What was the one Coinbase bought? Neutrino.
And
then what's the one that Bitfury
formerly known
has?
as the hacking team.
And then Bitfury has one called
Peach,
like Orange or something.
Peach, I believe it was Peach.
Yeah, I knew it was a fruit.
I remember I'm allergic to peaches. I don't know if that's doxing too much of my personal information. And if freaks coming up and throwing peaches at me, but yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, if we haven't completely destroyed these chain surveillance firms' business model within 5 years, we've completely failed.
I like that challenge. I like that mentality. Let's get on it, freaks. And this news isn't shocking. You'd expect Mastercard to do something like this, considering they're coming from the incumbent system, which is loaded and bloated with KYC, AML compliance layers. So Mastercard probably has to do this. And I guess that's maybe an interesting thread to pull on. Could this be used of like Mastercard implements something Bitcoin related, and they're able to provide all this compliance data to the regulators, and the regulators then turn to the rest of the market and say, you need to do this as well.
Bitfury is Crystal, not Peach.
Crystal.
Freaks, when I look at my phone while we're on air, it's because I'm looking something up.
Yeah.
I don't have multiple screens.
And you just weren't listening to anything I was saying.
You were saying that maybe they're going to implement something Bitcoin or crypto related, and that's why they need to have a chain surveillance firm, right?
Potentially, but not what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say is, does Mastercard implementing very granular and detailed compliance data for regulators, do the regulators get that and say, hey, look what Mastercard's providing us? Why don't you do the same? Because you got to think they're just going to inject this CipherTrace tech into all the data they're already collecting and just apply it to people.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the MO. I think these companies make, like Mastercard has like a whole ad. They like make money off your credit card information, like knowing your buying patterns and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's
like credit cards are basically corporate surveillance companies to begin with. So it's a natural fit for them. If they want to move into Bitcoin land, it's a natural fit for them. CipherTrace is probably one of the cheaper ones, right?
I never heard of them until
CipherTrace is the ones who keep pretending that they can track Monero. So that's the only reason I know about them, because they're constantly in the news about it.
Monero stands up to come out and be like, that's not true.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not true.
Well, in their defense, like CipherTrace keeps saying it, and they're like, but like, we're not going to show you how we do it.
Yeah, prove it. I sympathize with you, Monero stands there. Let's do shout outs, then we'll do software updates.
Yeah, we need the shout outs. Hit us with the shout outs.
Today is the 9th, so anything past the 2nd.
So do you think our recording saved? I guess no matter what, we have the live stream recording.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Yeah. All right, here we go. What's up, gentlemen? I recently learned that a friend got introduced to Bitcoin by someone else a few years ago and had a negative experience. They were guided to some kind of brick and mortar Bitcoin dealer, had them generate a single key paper wallet, and told them not to make any copies. They then made a one-time large purchase, sent it to the paper wallet, and kept their hodl in their wallet in their pocket. Lo and behold, they then got mugged shortly thereafter. I'm not sure whether to call this a theft or a loss, as it seems to me it's kind of a conflation of both. Hearing this awful story made me thankful that I've instilled a minimum level of knowledge and responsibility in all the noobs I've guided towards self-custody. All you Uncle Jims out there, do right by the people you're guiding into this space. Take their education seriously and instill the responsibility required when one wields the awesome power of self-custody. Thanks for all you guys do. Thanks for all you do, guys. Excuse me. I'm very... I like this when the shout outs provide actionable data. And it's something...
What is the actionable data? Don't carry around a paper wallet in your pocket and get mugged?
That's one actionable piece of advice here. So yeah, don't do that if you're out there. Don't keep it in your paper wallet for many reasons. Obviously, you can get mugged and get stolen, and I imagine if you forget it in your wallet and you're just like smushing it around in your ass as you walk around, and sit down,
like smudges and shit.
Yeah, it's
ink doesn't last. Ink doesn't last forever.
Not the best. Like multi-sig, probably better.
I feel like the dollar doesn't get enough credit. Like you can throw that thing in the washing machine. You can like it lasts.
A lot of people do cocaine with it and just rub it off right away. Nobody knows.
Yeah, every time you get $1, it's free cocaine.
Yeah, it's like 80% of bills in the U.S. have cocaine.
That's definitely fake news, right? Like that stat is definitely bullshit.
Judging
by like how people talk about the energy usage of Bitcoin, like I don't believe that stat anymore.
That's a good application of the heuristic. If they're not really good at dissecting Bitcoin, are they good at dissecting the drug trade and people's preferred tool of ingestion?
But I guess the actionable advice is take your storage seriously.
That, and then as somebody who's teaching, I think more importantly, somebody who's teaching others about self-custody, and I'm very happy that this freak highlighted this as well. It's one thing I make clear before I ever even allow myself to help somebody set up is like understand that comes with extreme ownership.
What about
nothing to fuck around with? I did that to him. It's just whether or not he listened, right?
I mean, he didn't.
Yeah, maybe he did, and he's just like trying to keep good OPSEC.
No way.
That's a good point. Even if you do this,
at all.
Even if you do this, it's not ironclad. How do you drill that extreme ownership imperative home? It's not easy.
You just lose your money and then it's driven home.
Exactly. You have to fuck up. So getting mugged. And it's a shame that he has a negative connotation with it.
I mean, that's what happened to me. I lost all my Bitcoin like 6 months ago, and I just had start fresh. And I was like, Matt, you got to take it seriously from now on.
Yeah, I remember you called me after that. I had to give you a nice pep talk. Like, it's all going to be better, man. It's all going to be better.
We'll get through this.
Next shout out, short, just says hi.
Hey.
Cheers
to you, freak.
On-chain payment. Cheers to you. Hi. Whoever you are.
Was it 1 sat per byte?
Let me go back. No,
cheers to you, freak. Hi.
I have to get the transaction ID, excuse me. Fee. 5 sats per byte. Overpaying.
Oof.
You could have waited. You sent this out on the 8th yesterday. Maybe you didn't think one sat would have gone in a day.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Well, hi. Appreciate it.
Last but not least, Soft Simon, Wiz. Let's create a 3D VR/AR interactive version of Mempool.space. How cool would it be to walk up to a 3D block, open up the top, and view the transactions inside or the TXs inside? I just want to make these transactions. It's transactions. I wanted to make sure it was stood for transactions.
He wants like of course.
Let me finish the shout out. We'll explain it. We'll explain it. Walk up to a 3D block, open up the top, and view the transactions inside. Watch the transactions grow into 3D mempool blocks where 1,000+ sat per byte transactions drop from above as if it weighs an anvil, and 1 sat per byte fall into the 3D mempool block like a feather. Will at Fold said possibly incorporate this into Fold's AR feature on the app in due time. Bounty is available to individuals for construction. Let's manifest thoughts into things. Reference links we'll put in the show notes. Possible web-based version. holding page for right now, so I won't share that. Maxwell Sikorsky has a tweet that we're going to link to. There's a GitHub post with a bounty, so we'll get that bounty information. And then,
How much is the bounty?
He said,
First of all, Mempool is an open source project, so if anyone wants to build this shit, they can build this shit. I personally think it'd be pretty traumatic in this current Mempool environment for me to do it in VR or AR, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Well, it reminds me of a block explorer like this that existed. It was a web page, and it was either squares or balls. I can't remember.
I remember it was balls.
Yeah. It sounds like something.
And it made noises, right?
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop.
That like the larger balls seemed heavier, smaller balls with smaller transactions. Just talking about balls here on TFTC, but no, the idea reminds me of that. I love that block explorer. Wiz, number one, thank you for the shout out. Number two, I love this idea.
Wait, it wasn't the shout out wasn't from Wiz, was it?
Yeah, the way it's
I
Wiz.
thought he was telling Wiz and Soft Simon that he wanted it.
Oh, potentially. I thought it was the way
like, dear Wiz and Soft Simon, I would like this.
So there's no dear. There's no dear. It just starts with Soft Simon, comma, Wiz, period. So I thought that was like Soft Simon. It's Wiz. That's the way I took it.
No way. There's no way.
All right.
What?
Just a poorly phrase.
Freak, you poorly formatted it. Marty's like, he's like Ron Burgundy. He's going to read whatever's on the fucking page.
Yes. I like this idea. That's it for the shout outs. We've gotten, let me make sure this is, yeah.
Zorn, I'm reading the chat. Chill the fuck out.
Don't feed the chat.
I mean, he's telling me to read the chat. I'm aware that it's happening.
Yearning for your attention. You're giving it to him.
Okay. I'm not reading the chat. Yes, see, Wiz just responded. If I want to send Soft Simon a message, I probably wouldn't do it through an RHR or shout out, but cool idea for future trolling purposes.
All right. It's nice to know you're at least listening, Wes. I thought it's a grammatical,
keep you on your toes, Wiz.
Grammatical formatting issue leading to confusion here. And I, as you freaks know, I will read anything like Robert.
You will literally read anything in that text box.
I do have some boundaries. Let's make that clear.
You read penis like 120 times in a row or whatever.
Yes, but there is a limit of what I will read. I will just say, where is it? I don't know. We'll find it. We've had limits before. We've had to tell people I can't read this. On to software updates. Phoenix version 1.4.17 has been released. As usual, stop me if anything major happens. Simple Bitcoin wallet version 2.0.9 has been released. Caravan version 0.3.11 has been released. Mempool version 2.2.2 has been released. Blue Wallet version 6.2.5 has been released. And BTC Pay Server version 1.2.3 has been released. We'll have the links to all those updates in the show notes. If you're comfortable upgrading, want to experiment with any of that will be available to you if you're users of any of these apps, any of these software projects. Another thing, I think I saw Ben the Carman tweet out yesterday that at least like the beginning skeleton structure of Bitcoin Core version 22.0 or 0.22.0.
No, it's 22.0 now.
22.0. Yeah, that's right. That's the big thing. They
changed it.
So that's getting worked on.
Nothing is real anymore.
No. We'll have these are considered major releases.
Can we have like a hostile fork that's not a fork? It's just, we just changed the naming scheme back.
Sort of like Bitcoin Knots was, right?
I mean, not really. Okay, whatever. It was a bad joke.
Yeah.
The block height just keeps going up. New all-time high.
New all-time high block height. What else I want to bring up that we didn't have on the list? There's been an interesting conversation started on the Bitcoin Dev mailing list. I believe the first email went out, about 13 hours ago, from Anthony Towns, and it seems that him and Greg Maxwell, or he was inspired by a conversation with Greg Maxwell and is building on an idea. Let me see how he describes it so I don't butcher this. He was imagining how it might be possible for everyone on the planet to use Bitcoin in a mostly decentralized / untrusted way without requiring a block size increase, and essentially via Taproot, he's working on a governance protocol and proposal that Anthony seems to believe that could improve privacy and usability of Bitcoin.
Do you know? Can you explain it to us?
No, not really. But I have been reading through it. I didn't get to read the whole thread, but there's a mixture of responses that seem positive. It seems like it would be cool if it was possible. And it's just no heroes or anything, but Greg Maxwell and AJ putting their heads together to think of a problem like this. I think if it produces good results, it'd be good for Bitcoin. So if you're a subscriber to the Bitcoin dev mailing list, I know there's a lot of emails that go through that pretty frequently, that list. I thought this one was pretty insightful and optimistic.
When was that posted?
13 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is okay, freaks. Low time preference.
Low time preference. Yeah. If you're interested in stuff going around development, Bitcoin's boring. You can't even build on it. Nobody's working on the development, Matt.
Bitcoin's so boring. Like, who could build a weekly recap for 3+ years on it? What do we even have to talk about? We don't even have anything to talk about.
We're transitioning to a gaming show soon. I got to get into gaming. Matt's going to buy an Xbox.
You got to get into gaming. Yeah, we'll see it. When I see it, I'll believe it.
Yeah, not a software update, but something we like to highlight every month it comes out. Janine's this month in Bitcoin privacy dropped for August. It talks about the U.S. infrastructure bill, privacy and proof of liability. I guess is that
Janine's awesome.
Yeah, node support for Taproot and Majority. It's notable news. So
Janine's going to help me with the privacy workshop at
the Oslo Freedom Forum
in Miami.
In Miami,
not in Oslo.
October 3rd and 4th.
Yeah. Are you going to be down there for that?
I'm not, unfortunately. I had to respectfully decline.
Me and Evan Kaludis are going to do it in person, and then Janine is going to be helping us remotely. Not sure exactly how yet. I have to figure that out. We have to figure that out. Janine is awesome. Everyone should subscribe to the newsletter. It's not a normal newsletter. She will not email it to you.
She will not.
So you can subscribe to the releases on GitHub if you want to get notified. Otherwise, just know at the top of every month, she will post it.
And we'll put it in the show notes for you freaks.
Yeah.
Depend on that as well. There is an intro to Samurai Wallet ongoing show.
This is cool.
Every Wednesday, 1800 UTC.
Yes. Well, I think it's 4 parts. 2 of the parts have happened already. The next one's going to happen on Wednesday at 1800 UTC. They do it on their Telegram channel. Telegram recently added a video chat feature so they can screen share and show the presentation while they speak.
That's really cool.
And it's all recorded and posted to Bitcoin TV afterwards.
Yeah.
So I provided the link in the show notes for the first segment. The second segment happened yesterday because that was Wednesday. That hasn't been posted yet, so I didn't provide a link to that. We'll put that in next week. And the next segment happens next Wednesday. And it's Bitcoin Q&A and Brother Rabbit. Great format. They answer your questions. You can put them in the text chat and Telegram.
I like that format a lot. It's like an evolution of Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces.
Telegram's just quietly building over there.
Yeah.
And I will repeat that it's either one of the best projects that exists on the internet because they have zero monetization model, and it's just
They have the ads model now, don't they?
No, he hasn't even added it yet. It's run by Durov, and he just has all this money from his Russian Facebook that he's just been burning on Telegram, and they have no monetization model yet. So it's
a Lightning Network, dude.
He's either awesome or
a spook.
Yeah, it's a surveillance. But the cool part about him is like you're not sure which one it is.
Yeah.
Like it could either be the Russians or the United States. I'm not sure which one he's working with. But yeah,
Or if he's working with them at all. I think you have
Telegram quietly building.
Yeah.
They had a shitcoin, but they rolled it back.
Yeah. It's seems like we're talking about Blockstream every week now, so they're not quietly building; they're building out in the open and like crazy right now. They announced a big deal with Macquarie to form a green Bitcoin mining partnership. Macquarie is a big asset manager over in Australia, I believe.
Yes.
It seems like to be a big partnership, even though I may not like the green mining.
Marty, you're on the board of an ESG company now.
Oh, yeah, isn't that the truth? Don't drag me into those waters. Just
It's only week 2 of it.
well, it's like I don't know what I'm allowed to say, and I have a lot.
Know.
I would
That's the fun part about doing it.
Yeah, so I'm just
Welcome
not
to be like that. That's what happens when you're a board member of a public company.
Stay tuned. Yeah, no, they're going out there. They're partnering up with a pretty massive asset manager to go after mining operations, and I believe in Australia.
I don't think it's in Australia.
Let me
the asset Macquarie, or however you pronounce it, is based in Australia. I don't think the mining operations are. Who the fuck would mine in Australia? That's a horrible idea.
There's a lot of natural gas out there. If you can immerse those machines in a warehouse build, that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense.
Do they have nat gas in Australia?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, not sure where this one's going to be. Maybe it's
they don't say it, right?
Yeah, it's just an expansion of their operations.
I assumed it was going to be in North America, but maybe my bias is showing. Like, who would launch any kind of business in Australia right now? I assume the Australian firm was trying to diversify out of Australia.
That's a good point.
I was just reading between the lines, and maybe it's fake news.
That's probably right. I would assume that's a correct assumption there.
I assume they were just like funding Blockstream's endeavors. Like, I assume Blockstream does all the work and they just pay them. Like, they give them money.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of mining, while we're on the topic, just anecdotally noticed a lot of activity, a lot of money being thrown around at mining right now. It's exciting times, becoming more popular. I spoke with a very principled and impressive Bitcoiner was describing the mining scene over in Europe. It's crazy when you think about it. The conversation revolves mainly around the U.S. and China and mining. Obviously, Kazakhstan, Iran, Venezuela get thrown in the mix. There's a lot of stuff going on in Scandinavia and parts of Europe as well. The hash rate distribution is pretty, I don't want to say sufficient, but it's I'm not alarmed at all about the distribution of hash rate at this current moment. I think people will be surprised at how geographically distributed it is. Obviously, there's pockets of concentration, but that's going to happen in any market.
I mean, I think the story of the hash rate right now is quietly super bullish and just not priced in at all.
Right. Yeah. It was a huge stress test. And there's a lot of machines about to be delivered in 2021. We talked about that last week, I believe, but just in case, if not, TSMC has passed.
We talked about that.
Yeah, a cost raise on Bitmain of like 20%. So you can expect that cost at the foundry level to get passed on to end customers.
And that's not
expensive ASICs.
It's not going to stop at 20%.
No, I don't think so. Not during this the supply crunch that the world is experiencing. What we got next? Speaking of nation states and laws, less bullish on this one. What are your thoughts on Ukrainian law? So Ukraine, they've had this proposal, I think, since the spring, finally got voted on. Vast majority, I think it was like 276 to 6 in whatever their Senate is, or House, whatever they call it in Ukraine. I'm sorry if that comes off as extremely ignorant. I'm noticing that as I'm speaking right now. However, it's confusing. They've legalized cryptocurrencies and the ability of their citizens to access exchanges and trade them. However, it's not legal to use them to purchase goods and services, which makes me wonder, like, if we have a Ukrainian freaks buy a shout out, is that illegal? They're buying a service.
I mean, we don't know they're from Ukraine.
We don't. No, we don't. But like, I'm not saying
Yeah,
we're.
it could be illegal for them. To me, it's like
It's like that's where my mind went immediately. Like, would they get in
was
trouble
the
for
bit
that?
license bullish?
No, I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah.
This feels like the bit license.
Yeah. That's why I tweeted out yesterday. I was like, seems like a step in the right direction. However, it would be a lot cooler if you just said it was legal to do this stuff. But yeah, now that you mentioned that, it does have that type of feeling.
They're like you can. They're like if you go through this burdensome regulation process and register with Ukraine, then people can trade on your KYC exchange, but they can't use it as a means of payment.
Yeah, it's odd.
It's like, are we going to cheer that on?
Yeah, like then Freak responded like, why are you at all? Why would you call this a step in the right direction? Am I thinking at the time, and maybe I still think about this, and Alex Gladstein responded to that as well. Like, it's just good. Again, from an optics perspective, I guess.
Gladstein was like, it's better than an outright ban.
Yeah.
But like, if that's what we're measuring shit about, like what the fuck? You know, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's worse.
It's like maybe I'll give you slightly bullish. You know,
I don't even call it bullish or whatever. It's just like bullish or bearish. I think it's again. So obviously this week, nation.
We don't expect government.
Nation state adoption on top of my mind. Like at first, it was like, oh, is this a reaction to El Salvador? But you find out the bill was written in the spring and just got voted on. It's like, does it contribute to that domino effect we were describing earlier? I guess
it's mostly a non-story, I would say.
Okay.
It's mostly a if I don't expect governments anytime soon to explicitly, permit P2P payments in Bitcoin. I think that'll be a rarity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't expect the Ukrainian government to come out and be like, use Bitcoin in a self-sovereign way and spend it, and buy goods and services. I don't expect them to do that,
Yeah.
So I would just take that off the table. That would just be something that I just would not expect at all. But if this is what it looks like, and to be clear, the whole law is written in Ukrainian, so I did Google Translate. I tried my best.
That's what
but if the correct take is that it's the bit license and that it's like, okay, we're going to formally regulate exchanges, we're going to register them, and citizens can use those KYC exchanges, then what? They're just bringing themselves in line with the Western world, right?
Yeah. That's what's interesting about like the El Salvadors, right? It's like, and what I think was particularly profound about the trolling of the IMF in public overtly from the president was like, is that an emboldening moment in history where those who aren't part of the Western hegemony see it as an opportunity to get their fair share. We shall see. We'll see. I think it's going to begin happening quicker and quicker and faster. More of these announcements are going to come out. We'll be here to talk about it every Thursday, sometimes Saturdays when we do live shows.
Did you ever upload that?
I haven't gotten the file yet. Gary's hunting it down for me.
Okay.
Terrible audio quality.
I mean, worst comes to worst, we can just upload the YouTube one.
Somebody
I think it needs to be in the feed just for continued
posterity's sake.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Continuity.
Yeah. Last but not least, Swan Bitcoin had a very big campaign push yesterday, or excuse me, Tuesday, with the launch of Bitcoin as legal tender in El Salvador. Bitcoin is for everyone. Let's meet Bitcoiners in every country. And so there's been the Twitter campaign, and then obviously Swan has a video as well. It's very empowering to see how many people around the world are using Bitcoin. It's only everybody was a drug dealer or somebody doing something illegal in that video. It's only used by those types of people. If you
My
watch
dog
the
is
video,
streaming right now underneath my table.
I'm here talking and you're just.
No, I was listening to you. I agree. That's why I put it on the list. I think it's a powerful message and it's a cool campaign.
Yeah, I think they have 56 out of 195 countries right now. Need to pump those numbers.
How many countries?
195. Bitcoiners all over, freaks. I'm seeing a picture right here in front of the Empire State Building. That was it for the list. What are we thinking? Anything you want to end on here? Are you going to extend this into a 5-hour long live stream, inviting in Rodolfo?
No, you had to be there for that. Freaks together strong.
I came back. I did come back for that.
No, I just said like the freaks had to be there for that, you know. I don't know. I got nothing.
I got nothing. It's interesting times. We live in interesting times.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about that.
Let's go. I talked about something I didn't want to talk about.
We were talking about it before we started.
Is it what we can't talk about, or
we can? No, I'm talking about this idea. Not that, Marty. I'm talking about this phenomenon that a bunch of Ethereum stakeholders who have been giving Bitcoiners shit for a bunch of years now sound oddly familiar.
It's hilarious. All right, so we were talking about this earlier. Obviously, Solana is blowing up. It's crazy, and this is what I told Matt before we went live. Like, it's crazy how it leaks into your personal life. Like today, I went to the gym and I ran into a buddy from high school, a few years younger than me. We played lacrosse together, and so we were catching up. He reads the newsletter. He was like, "What do you think about Solana, bro?" I'm just like, it'll probably pump. It's out there. Like, I'm focused on stacking sats. The cycle repeats. We've talked about it many times on this show, but it is hilarious. A beautiful sight to see the Ethereum intellectual Illuminati, or whatever you want to call them.
ETH maxis.
ETH
Let's call them what they are.
It's just hilarious watching them freak out when the very same tactics they have employed on the Bitcoin network for many years just get held up in mirror form to them with
it's the same exact arguments, like cheaper, faster, more performant.
Yeah.
Like that one dude was like the world's reserve currency isn't going to have private sales to insiders. Like what are you aware of what happened with ETH, or are we just pretending that didn't happen?
That's the thing. Like, are they? Like, do they? Because a lot of the, I mean, I think it's public knowledge. A lot of these people pushing ultrasound money in Ethereum is better than Bitcoin came in after the pre-sale and that whole launch, which we were around for. And I remember the conversation around
it's the same exact thing.
Same exact thing. And I mean, Alex Berg, I think, pulled up, or it might have been Grubels, put up the chart of the initial coin sale and just completely manipulated. Like a day or half a day before it closes up, the line goes parabolic up and to the right, signaling that one large or a few large entities scooped up the majority of that pre-sale.
Whose analysis? Was that Hasu's analysis?
I'm not sure. It's been around for a while.
And then, yeah, I don't know. It's hilarious because now ETH is dealing with their own flippening drama with another fucking chain. And I don't know. It's just funny to see.
Well, this is why I think.
But like, don't trade that shit. Stay almost stack sats.
That was my advice. He was like, "Well, can I make some money?" I was like,
funny.
I mean, can you make some money? Is it within the realm of probability and possibility? Probably. Are you likely to? Probably no. I don't know. Like, unless you're stuck to your computer looking at charts all day and timing the market. That's what I said. It was like, with how quickly these things go to shit. Like, if you're not by your computer or
Most people,
I don't
most
give
people
Bitcoin
suck at
trading
trading.
advice. Yeah.
Most people suck. Even if it's not shitcoin trading, even if it's Bitcoin trading, even if it's Apple stock trading,
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean,
Most people suck at trading.
that's another thing. Like another example of don't leverage trade was Tuesday with that fucking
Right.
$10,000 flash crash. If you're margin long, thinking, I mean, it's so incredibly stereotypical to set up like big news day, classic, buy the rumor, sell the news. But human nature dictates that, and that people are going to think it's a bullish event. They go lever long, and then you have a 10,000 red candle. That $10,000 red candle just destroys you.
So a couple of things here. Obviously, don't leverage trade. Don't trade, but don't leverage trade. You will get wrecked. You'll learn your lesson, and then you'll learn to stack sats anyway. So I don't really have to say it too often, but just keep that in mind. The I we had FTX and SBF. Sam Bankman-Fried, co-founder of Solana, co-founder of FTX, is a major promoter of Solana. Before I get there, so this is something I've theorized many times in the past. We've talked about it on the show in the past. This idea of trying to prioritize low fees and fast transactions is just a race to the bottom. Like someone else can always be more centralized than you. And what happens is it's a high time preference decision, because if you try and prioritize for low fees and fast transactions, your chain's going to get more bloated. So you'll become more centralized. So long term, you'll lose censorship resistance, which is the whole point of the whole fucking thing. Otherwise, we could just run the whole thing on AWS. So it's a race to the bottom, and they're all cannibalizing each other because that's what they've decided to prioritize. And then going back to SBF is one of the, he's a founder of FTX. They're fucking killing it right now. And he's a major promoter of Solana. He just released an ad with Tom Brady and Giselle. Did you see that?
I saw it fly down. I watched the first 20 seconds, and I was like, I couldn't take this scripted conversation between.
Okay, I mean, it's an ad, bro. Ads are scripted. That ad is gonna play every Sunday during football. And obviously it's not a Bitcoin ad. It is a crypto ad. It's an FTX ad. Let's be honest. It's an FTX ad. But I just thought it was interesting that Bitcoiners have been fantasizing about a Super Bowl commercial, and be careful what you wish for. It's going to be a shitcoin exchange. That is going to be the first Super Bowl commercial that is semi Bitcoin related. And this cycle is going to be fucking insane. I don't know. It's going to be.
We've been around the block a few times. Just expect it. It's going to happen.
We're going to be in a situation where halfway through this fall, I have a feeling we're just going to all think that the freaks and me and Marty are just going to be thinking, well, we're freaks as well. We're just going to be thinking that we're idiots and that we're boomers, and then we have no idea what the fuck's going on. And maybe we're taking the crazy pills. We're not taking the crazy pills. It'll all normalize itself out on a long enough time basis, but there's going to be craziness in the middle.
Front running this, just applying an M&M and 8 mile strategy. Just clip it already. Just put cope over it. That's
we're pre-cope. I just wanted to get the cope out of the way ahead of time.
Yeah, we're pre-coping. I mean, shit happens.
They were shilling Dogecoin in that ad.
It happens every cycle. It can go big. That's it's an interesting thing, but I don't think particularly
scams pump the hardest. In bull markets, scams pump the hardest. I think we've been pretty consistent about that on this.
You can go read the tape. Yeah, again, I've articulated this theory on this show many times throughout the years, but what does flippening Bitcoin mean? Are you flippening the network effect of it used by money? Are people, maybe there's people building apps on Solana, or everyday people going to be using it as money? I'm not so sure. I don't even know why we're getting deep into this conversation. The point I'm trying to make here is I think It is impossible to flip in Bitcoin because if you do, it's like, all right, what's the stop?
Market cap's not real anyway. Like, what are you flipping it?
Right?
You're not going to flip it the censorship resistance, and that's the
exactly.
Bitcoin's hard to change.
And it's and again, like Matt just described, like the trade-offs made via these networks are just natural centralizing forces that are gonna not enable it to be the censorship resistant money that humanity needs right now. That's why I focus on Bitcoin. Yes, a lot of people are gonna make money trading. However, somebody needs to build out the infrastructure for the freedom preserving network of the 100%. Future.
That's what it's about. That's why we're here. We have Nick in the comments mentioning the DDoS attacks that were denial of service attacks that were happening to Lightning services.
Thank you, Nick. I did want to bring this up.
It was LNTX Spot, Blixt Wallet, and LN Bits.
And they were were they all using a Dutch
hosting provider? They were all using the same hosting provider.
Yeah.
And they got hit by denial of service attacks. I don't think some people were making it out to be like a big thing. It's not a small thing, but at the same time, all centralized public facing services have the risk of denial of service attacks. They're very easy to pull off. They're not that expensive to pull off. And they're going to happen. And this is why, unfortunately, you see so many Bitcoin exchanges operating behind Cloudflare, which is a centralized solution to try and solve the denial of service situations. And then you have something like Bitcoin, which tries to offer a distributed alternative to that. So as long as you have these centralized services that are operating in a public facing way, they're going to have to deal with denial of service attacks. It's a thing that happens. It's a risk you take when you trust a third party that their service might be down when you need to use them, and you should act accordingly. And fortunately, all three, I believe, are back up now. I believe they all moved hosting providers, and it could happen again. Like that's the state of the internet. That's how it works.
Probably will happen again. And yeah, no funds are lost, right?
No funds were lost. It's because you couldn't access the service.
Yeah, other than the potential funds that could have been made while it was down. It was a successful DDoS attack. And who knows, maybe this will provide important real-life data and allows us to fix some problems that exist. Who knows, as they pertain to DDoS attacks. Particularly, we're getting notice that Biden is live right now in the first statement. We have MG Smith 4 here transcribing it. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. That's how he started his speech tonight.
No, that's not how. That's the old.
Man, I'm fucking with you. I know.
Did you see the animated version of that quote?
No, I haven't.
The animated version is hilarious.
It's one of the most ridiculous statements ever to come out of a president's mouth. There's been many, but we are being alerted that he is actually talking right now, and I don't know what's going on. There was a tweet that I got tagged an hour ago from Courtney Subramanian, who's saying that Biden is going to announce that an OSHA rule requiring businesses with more than 100 employees to ensure workers are either fully vaccinated or tested weekly. Per the White House, violations could come with substantial fines up to nearly $14,000 for providers.
By the time people are listening to this, it'll either have been actual news or it'll have been bullshit. So I think we should just not speculate on what he's saying right now when we're not watching what he's saying right now.
The AP is confirming this, so
as like that, he's just whatever. Either way, we should wrap up the show. It's been a great conversation, Marty. I love you, and I love the freaks.
Love you. I love the freaks as well. Hey, spell out the infrastructure.
And fuck you too. Use BitcoinTV.com.
I thought you said fuck you too. I was like, damn, why you said fuck me? Matt, you were the host. You have to end the live stream. Or do I have to do that?
Wait, I can end it?
No, I can end the live stream. You got to end the recording so that we can get the live stream alpha. You stopped the
send it over.
recording. Peace and love to the freaks in the recording.
Love your freaks. Stay humble and stack sats.
All right, now we get live stream alpha. This is where things get interesting. I know you want to leave, Matt, but
I love my live stream fam.
if you have more than
Ride or die
100,
freaks.
if you have more than 100 employees, you need to tell them to get vaxxed or get tested weekly.
Is that a thing?
Mandate it. I mean, if the AP's tweeting it out.
No, I think if you're a government contractor, right?
OSHA rule. I guess if you have to follow OSHA compliance, I know we do a Great American Mining on oil fields.
So, how many employees do you have?
We don't have over 100, but I know we work with companies that have over 100.
I'm pretty sure it's government contractors, but I'm not watching the speech that we're commenting on.
Neither am I. Let's see if the live stream. Live stream, is this good alpha? My wife was very angry at the alpha from last week or a couple weeks.
Yeah, I would be too if I was her.
You saw some replies to, yeah, you told people I clean your ears. I was like,
Naked.
I don't think she caught that part yet.
I had someone give me feedback. They're like, thanks, Matt, for asking the hard question.
Now you have to spill the beans, son.
No.
All right. Repeated alpha. What else?
What do you have for the freaks before we wrap this up?
Background. Hopefully foreshadowing some swell here in South Jersey tomorrow. We'll see. Swell's been building the last couple days. We got that shitty southeast chop though. Hopefully the wind shifts west, coming from offshore and cleans up the waves. That's what I'm hoping for. And they're supposed to be pretty big.
OSHA was always overbearing government bullshit anyway. This just showcases it. Are you doing anything fun this weekend?
I am. I was just about to give up too much information. I am.
Okay, don't.
Are you?
I am. It's gonna be a good weekend. Enjoy your weekend, freaks. Just like don't. I think we need more happiness. People just need to like enjoy your friends and family.
Yes, I agree.
Like don't get down and you know don't don't get complacent, but don't
be nihilistic.
Don't like kill yourself, man, because life is short and
you went straight there.
I'm truly grateful for the life I live. So
I am as well.
You should be too.
Every day is a blessing. We are blessed.
Be happy.
Being able to do this. Be happy. Inflation isn't real. Be happy.
Inflation is real, but we can still be happy because we have Bitcoin.
I agree. No, I think I like to think it was an optimistic tone throughout most of this.
It was mostly optimistic for a show that covered New World Order halfway through.
Yes. Crazy Uncle Marty restrained himself. Would you give me credit there?
Yeah, you've matured.
You got to reel it in every once in a while. I can't have a sailor call me paranoid next week. You just got to hit him with spurts every once. Is that it? Is that the end?
I like the spurts.
Freaks don't kill. Yeah, you're getting called out. Like, don't kill yourself. You go straight to like, don't kill yourself. It's like, hey,
I didn't say that. Did I say that?
Yeah, you said don't kill yourself.
Don't beat yourself up over it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like
yeah.
don't kill yourself. Yeah,
thank you for that.
Don't kill yourself. I mean, that's just like that's the dumbest fucking alpha ever. Like, oh, thanks, Matt gave me the advice not to kill myself.
Yeah,
you shouldn't do that. But like, don't beat yourself up over things you can't control. You know, and just have a good time. Don't
beat yourself up over things you can't control. However, do take control of the things that you can control. I think that's good
advice.
That's how you build the optimistic future that you dream of. Take control. I think that's been the tenor of the interview series for the last few episodes, at least, is we can win this. It is going to take action. Let's go out there and act.
Don't comply with this vaccine passport bullshit. Like, if you want to take the vaccine, take the vaccine. But don't fucking, if you comply, you're part of the problem.
Agreed.
We can't have this shit.
Agreed.
I love you, freaks. Stay humble, stack sats.
Peace and love.